Do you ever wonder where all the variety of life on Earth comes from? Before we begin, let's do a quick review of evolution. Evolution began when a man named Darwin came up with the idea of natural selection. Natural selection is the idea that some animals survive better than other animals because they are better suited for their environment. For instance, let's go to the great country/continent of Australia to learn about the wombat. The wombat carries its child in its rear end, so that when they dig, they do not bury their children in the sand. At some point in evolutionary history, some animal must have had a variation with a pouch in its rear that must have helped their offspring survive better than others without pouches. As another example, this cheetah might be faster than his cheetah brothers, so he will survive better in the wild because he can get the food first. We have also talked about artificial selection when humans decide what kind of animals they want to breed. Humans always make good choices when deciding what kind of animals to breed. Artificial selection is also important because humans choose what kind of animal they want to keep in order to help themselves. Now remember that Darwin thought we came from a common ancestor. The word ancestor has two roots, ante and sedere. Ante is where we get the word ante up in poker. If you have ever played poker before, you know that you have to ante up before you can play around. In the same way, ante means before. Sedere, on the other hand, means go. When you put the two words together, they mean to go before. So ancestors are people that have come before you. You can think of these common ancestors as a tree. Darwin thought originally the world was made up of very simple organisms, and as time went on, more and more complex organisms came to be through the variations we talked about earlier. But we know that variations only take place within individual animals. Scientists, however, also look at populations. They look at how common different variations are within populations of animals. They call this variation within populations an allele frequency. If you remember back to genetics, each gene has two letters. Both of these letters make up a gene, and each individual letter is called the allele. The allele frequency is how often a certain allele appears in a population. For instance, look at these two fine young men with a nice head of brown hair. Let's say that their alleles are a capital B, which represents brown, and a lowercase b, which represents blonde. Because the big B is dominant, both of these men have blonde hair. Let's say someone else has blonde hair with the alleles little b, little b. To find the allele frequency of the big B's, we have to divide the allele frequency of the big B, which is 2, because there are two big B's, divided by the total number of alleles. There are total, if you count all the alleles, there's 2 for each person times 3 people, so that's 6 alleles. So 2 divided by 6 equals 0.33, and as a decimal, that is 33%. So the allele frequency of the big B's among this population is 33%. If instead we wanted to find the allele frequency of the little b, blonde, there are 4 little b's divided by the total number of alleles, which is 6. It equals 0.67 or 67%. But now the question must be asked, where do these genetic variations come from? Genetic variations come from mutations. Mutations are changes in DNA that makes you look or act significantly different from your ancestors. If the mutation is beneficial, like sharper teeth or thumbs to help us hold things, then it will help the species to survive better than others. The other way genetic variation happens is through recombination. Just like you can put many different combinations on a locker, the sperm and the egg have many different possible ways to combine after mom and dad make the baby that is you. It is sort of like your parents shuffle all their genes like cards and pass them on to you. So just to review, some old guy named Darwin changed the course of science by saying that we all come from a common ancestor. He believed this happened through natural selection, through animals receiving different variations over time. When we look at this in terms of a population, we look at the allele frequency of a population to see how it changes over time and at the different mutations and recombinations over time. And this is where the variety of life on Earth comes from.